Somebody's calling my name. Oh, hush.
Welcome to church. I need your help today because I feel the ground shifting and changing under my feet. Do you know what I'm talking about? I feel change moving through our world faster than I can keep up. Amen? Our opening quote comes to us from the book of Acts, some 2,000 years ago. And back then, the world was changing too. It didn't happen all at once, but everything was changing. No matter what you believe now or what you believe about that time, whether you agree with how people interpreted it, whether you believe in Jesus, whether you read the book of Acts or not, you must agree with me. The world was changing then. We start our calendar. It's the year 2025. The start of what we think of as the annual calendar started 2,000 years ago. Everything was changing. And I want to say that for us here, I'm not going to tell you the story of how we got from there to here. I'm not going to do that. I'm not a historian. I'm a minister. I'm a preacher. So I hope you don't mind if I brought a sermon instead. Today is a big day, church, and it is time to preach. So forgive me for showing up today as a preacher, because in my tradition, that means I'm not here to tell you my ideas. I'm not here to tell you what I'm thinking about. I'm here to talk about what is written in the wind, the things that we see and hear moving through this community and in the wider world, despite my observations. I'm here to talk about the meaning in our shared life together here in this space. Amen? I'm here to talk about the meaning contained not just in our community life, but in our individual lives that we bring together in church and call holy. Is that right? Do I have that right? Is that what I'm supposed to do here? All right, thank you, join me. And I hope I don't have to explain to the people in this room that when I talk about our people, when I talk about my people, I'm talking about all the people. I'm not just talking about the ones who agree with me and the ones who are sitting here. I'm talking about all people, the people here and the people over there. The people who are us and the people who are they. We are all the same people. Amen? You can say it loud if you know it's true. And we are all the same people. Am I right? This is important. We all have shared ancestry. We all have shared history. We all have shared biological and physical characteristics that make us people. We all have a genetic reality that makes us people. And we all have our own experiences, our own connections, some more real than others. But we're not different kinds of people. There are not different kinds of people. We might look different, we might feel different, and I'm sure we think differently from one another, but there is only one people, a reality that is attested to not only by historians, but also by culture critics, also by anthropologists, also by genetic and biological researchers, and also by evolutionary theorists. Generally speaking, we all agree. We are how many different kinds of people? Just one. Thank you. I just want to make sure that you're with me and paying attention. Because when I talk at a group of people, you can get tired. Am I right? We don't have the attention spans we used to in the ancient world, do we? So I'm going to keep asking you to stay with me and pay attention. These same scientists and theorists tell us that modern humans didn't leave the continent of Africa until about 90,000 years ago. Now that's 45 times the 2,000 years history that I was talking about before. So just so you know, just so you're on the same page as me, 90,000 years ago is a long time, amen? Furthermore, archaeological evidence suggests that genetically identical humans, that is to say the one people we all are, every single one of us on this planet, genetically identical human beings didn't show up on the continent of Africa until about 300,000 years ago. Now, if you're keeping track, 300,000 is more than 3 times 90,000. So 2/3 of our shared history was all spent in the same place. Now, if we Think about it for a moment. If 2/3 of our shared history was all on the same continent, and if the continent of Africa, I did some math and research, is about the size of North America and Europe combined, a little bit, then that means that all of the cultural, technological, and innovation that human beings have shared all happened a very, very long time ago. That when we talk about the cultural transmission in history and heritage that we have today, it was crafted long before what we consider modern history. If you're with me, say amen. If we think about the implications of that cultural reality, is it any wonder that so much of how we understand ourselves today is filtered through the eyes of the diaspora, filtered through the lens of folks who are contained within their bodies, that legacy, that colonial history? Is it any surprise that so much of what we do when we gather together as people can be traced back to that time? I don't think it is. And if you're with me, you can nod your head, you can say amen, you can participate however you want to, but you do have to participate with me. This shared legacy, it's a joke. Thank you, Jerry. It's funny. But this shared legacy that we have, this shared heritage, doesn't simply belong to those of us who look like me. And by that I mean not just those of us who present in our phenotype the legacy of the African diaspora. It's not just those of us who have darker skin or kinky beard hair like myself that lean into this cultural tradition. This shared heritage, as I mentioned, belongs to all of us. We are one people. We're not different kinds of people. There is only one kind of person. This is the same kind of person that my heritage, my ancestry, comes not only from West Africa, but also from the island of Ireland. You see, in Ireland, these tools of religious salvation, these tools of surviving, like singing together in groups of people, was important technological heritage as well. You see, this way that we sing in order to connect, in order to survive, in order to thrive, that is basic human technology. It is not specific to one culture, amen? It's not specific to one way of being and one way of living. It is shared cultural heritage because we are all one people. Thank you. Yes, all right. Keep you on your toes. You see, religious technology is not invented overnight. It takes some 300,000 years to work its way into our bodies. And friends, if you sang together today, if you felt someone singing next to you and it felt good, then you have been co-opted into that ancient technology as well. We sing together in order to free ourselves from the past and the future. We sing together so that we can be right here, right now, together. Amen? Okay, now I know you're with me. Our physical bodies know better than we do how to survive together, how to survive each other. And it has less to do with the words that we say when we're singing and more to do with the fact that we do it at all, that we gather together, that we talk to each other, that we share our experiences, and that we sing together. Amen? It is important for us to sing together because that's how we learn to survive. That's how we learn to thrive. It is ancient life-saving technology. We gather together in community and light candles just like we did today because our bodies remember better than we do how to get through this. If you have an experience, an emotional, religious, mental experience while you walk up to light the candles, just know you are not alone. That is not because something brilliant has happened in your mind different than everyone else, because we are all the same people. This ancient technology of lighting candles in groups, this is how we connect to the meaning of fire, how we connect to the meaning of shared life and experience. It is how we connect to our breath. Amen? All right, as long as you're with me, I can tell you this work of being together, of giving love, of becoming love for each other, this work of becoming beauty, of creating beauty, of sharing beauty with one another, the work of coming together in encouragement and happiness and joy and hope, this gathering together as community, lighting our candles, we do all of this because it opens us up to ancient wisdom. It opens us up to the wisdom of those sitting next to us. It opens us up to the wisdom of those who came before us and who have laid the foundation for us to gather in the exact same way. And when we do that, when we open ourselves up to the wisdom of those next to us and the wisdom of those who came before us, we realize that the life we are living, it is not only not alone, but we're not living it in vain. We're not living it for no reason. We're living it for the sake of the beauty that we try to create for one another. Amen? Okay. Friends, this is church time, and I am wearing this right now so that you know I have devoted my entire life to church time. That is to say, these few minutes, this brief hour every week that we gather together, because I think this is the ancient life-saving technology that's going to get us through the next chapter of our world. This shared legacy, shared heritage doesn't simply belong to others, it belongs to us as well. I am here because I have devoted my life to trying to perpetuate life-saving technology through singing, through speaking truth, through looking at you and being all that I can be, so that you know you can be all that you can be. Amen? All right. Let me hear that you're still with me. Nod your heads. Okay. A few people are still with me, and I know it gets to be a lot. Listen, the most important thing we do is give each other food for this journey, because it is hard out there. This is the reason that we gather, is because we sustain each other for the work to come. A sermon is meant to be food for your journey, and I can't be the one feeding all of you. We have to feed each other together. This is a mutual aid network that we're starting here at the community church. And when I tell you that I need your encouragement, I want you to encourage me. And when I say that I am here encouraging you, I want you to follow suit and encourage one another. All right? Thank you. Now, I know that it's not just you who are here with me. There are others who are tuning in on the live stream as well. And so this pulpit is part of a larger tradition history that doesn't only address this community. I'm not sure if you know, the Community Church of New York has a legacy also of addressing the wider city. I'm not sure if you know, the Community Church has a legacy of being influential across the nation. That this pulpit has a lot to say, not just to us who are here in this room, but to those who gather all around this country. It's not a lofty, ambitious goal to say that we want to change the world here. That's something that has happened here before. It is our tradition at the community church to improve the world through the community church. And I would argue, if all of you have been paying attention to our senior minister and her words, that we are growing exceedingly efficient at it. And if you haven't been paying attention, that's okay. If you haven't been paying attention to what Reverend Peggy is saying and doing in this space, I forgive you. Go ahead and forgive yourself for that. But now is a good time to start, because I'm not sure if you noticed, but the outside world is crumbling. The sand beneath my feet doesn't hold me up anymore. Amen? If you haven't been paying attention, now is a good time to start, because everything is changing. The world is changing, and the Community Church of New York is leading some of that change. Amen? You don't need me to tell you this. I know you can feel the world changing in your bones, in your body. You told me so when I started this sermon. I know that you feel it in the air, that the world is not what it was last year. I know that in your breath, in your breathing, in your experiences in New York City, you notice this tension, this heaviness that exists in the air. Am I right? You can say I'm right. Okay, thank you. Now, I got off the plane in Asheville, North Carolina, about 6 weeks ago. I was heading to the gathering that came up in our wisdom story, the Finding Our Way Home gathering of Unitarian Universalist religious professionals of color. If you don't know, along with Janice Marie Johnson, who I'm very, very sorry I have ruined your invitation to participate in this service, and I owe you a whole debt of for that. And in your debt. But Janice Marie Johnson was there with us, Esther Rosado was there with us, Darnell White was there with us, and together, the four of us represented the community church at the Montreat Conference Center, where more than 100 other UUs of color gathered. We spent a week in prayer, in fellowship. We sang a lot, friends. We did a lot of singing. And we spent time in deep, loving intention, trying to fix some of what we know had been broken in us so that we could show up to the world. I want to say that it's not the first time I've struggled to express the gravity and spiritual connection that I felt in there, but I will do my best. You see, these folks of every shade and stripe, they didn't waste a single moment of this precious week filling us, filling me, filling one another with that love, filling us with the love that we needed to sustain us through not just a week, but through a whole year. We hugged for so long, friends. People hugged me that I didn't even know, and they held on. It was lovely. It was so intentional. People who didn't even know my name came up to me and gave me encouragement. I stayed up late, and you know that's not my thing. We stayed up late sharing stories of hope, sharing stories of our own resilience and the resilience of those in our community. We discussed power, how we claim power for ourselves, how we respond to power as it shows up against us. We shared fears, but mostly we shared our hope. We shared worship too. We shared grief and sadness and fear in community, just like we are doing right now. We encouraged each other by saying things like, yes, amen, I hear you, I'm with you. We encouraged each other by praying together, by being honest with each other, by letting our feelings show up in the midst of worship. We gathered the tattered and frayed edges of our weary spirits that week, and we forged them together into an internal fire. Because the gathering at Finding Our Way Home only happens once a year, we knew that we needed that internal fire to sustain us, because times are changing. The world is not what it once was. This is different. I feel the ground beneath my feet crumbling. Amen? It felt particularly important for us to gather this way this year because we all could feel that world changing as well. All of us are working so hard, GLOMA UUs in particular. Now, if you don't know, GLOMA is shorthand for Global Majority. It means Black and Indigenous people of color. And GLOMA UUs are working so hard right now, if you didn't know, for the sake of life and justice. In times like these, I know it can feel like no one is working on behalf of justice and life. But I can tell you, because I was there, there's at least 100 people working on it right now, and they are implanted throughout this country, in this denomination, trying to overturn systems of injustice. Right now, we, as the community church, have been plugged into a global spiritual movement to reclaim humanity and love at the center of how we live and practice. And if you didn't know, just trust me when I tell you, we are connected. We are filling ourselves with that spirit, and we are sharing that spirit with our city. Amen? Okay, that was a little weak, but that's all right. I'm saying a lot of things, and you got to stay with me because I've got a lot more to say. This is really important because these gatherings of this ancient practice of life sharing, life giving, truth telling, the ancient practices of beauty making when we sing together remind us that nothing we do together is in vain. Nothing we share in love is empty. Nothing that we do that has the purpose of bolstering and upholding another human being is worthless, is empty, is meaningless. Everything that we do is rooted in that meaning and power that sustains all that is holy. Amen? Okay. Let me find where I am now. At the beginning of this conversation, I had to root us by reminding us that we are all one people, that there are not different kinds of people, that the us and the they are all we. But it would be foolish of me to say this without admitting that there are also enemies in our midst, and there are likely enemies joining us online. People like us, the same kind of people, but who prey on others. These are people who dehumanize others and who create institutions of dehumanization. I'm talking about the people that we do see on the news, sowing fear, mistrust, hatred, confusion. I generally try to avoid saying things like us and they when I refer to invisible foes, but today I say the they out there want you to stay scared right now. They want you not to know what's going on, and they want you to be consumed by your pain, your fear, your struggle, your difficulties. These folks do not want ancient practices of healing to be part of our daily, weekly lives. We come to church because that technology really cannot stay hidden, at least not for long. At Finding Our Way Home, I discovered a dense collection of this ancient wisdom, curated from the wealth of human traditions, but having baked in the bodies of our spiritual healers and spiritual practitioners, sages and scholars. Brilliant students of the human condition and of human wisdom are right now, as we speak, fortifying this global spiritual underground movement, teaching us to become our own resistance. Generations of wisdom have called forth children of the truth. Raise your hand if you are a child of the truth. Go ahead. If everybody's hand isn't raised, I'm not entirely sure what you are doing here in church, talking about life and love, growing together, singing together, trying to do the work of being human with one another. If you are not a child of the truth, I'm not sure that you are here right now, because every one of you that is here is a child of the truth. Amen? So, children of the truth, I want to ask you, how did you get this way? Who told you that the truth was important? Who told you that you were important? Who told you that your neighbors were important? It's a real question. Think about it for a second. Who told you that this is where you're supposed to be? Self-esteem could tell you, absolutely. But my suspicion is no one told you. You already knew it. You came here because that truth that you already had in your head, that truth is important, that we are important, that the people sitting next to you are important. That truth was in you, and when we said it out loud here, you connected to it. You felt connected to it. You knew that it was important. Am I right? Am I on the right path? A few nods, yes. I want to argue that that truth, that we as children of the truth are important, not just now, but in the future. I think that truth was written on your heart. I think we all know it on the inside, and that is why we do our best to live justice-seeking lives in public. Let's say maybe you didn't know that there is a global spiritual movement taking place. Maybe you don't know that there is actually love being planted in our hearts, cultivated by the voices of our beautiful and brilliant choir around us. Maybe you didn't know that you were connected to a spiritual movement. Were you expecting to see it on television? Maybe you were hoping to find it online. No, this wisdom is encapsulated in our physical selves. This wisdom that I'm talking about, this ancient healing knowledge that we share in community, that we speak to each other, that we preach to each other, that we sing to each other, we know it because we feel it. It is a true feeling. We are located in this community to become skilled practitioners of the sacred, to become skilled practitioners of the holy. We can experience it in laughter. We experience it in conversation. We experience it in the joy that we cultivate in being with one another. This is how we guide each other. Because we do not lead, we follow this practice. We are guided together into experiences of deep holiness by taking responsibility not just for ourselves but for each other. Here, we meet not just our own needs, but one another's needs. I mentioned that this technology right now, we are creating a mutual aid network for our emotional experience by sitting together, by speaking together, and by singing together. Here in this church, we are trying to put music at the center of our lives for that reason. It is an ancient healing technology that connects us right now. This is probably the 17th time I've said ancient healing technology in this sermon. And I want you to hold on to that phrase. If you connect to nothing else I say, remember that we are rooted in ancient healing technology. That what we do here when we sing together is ancient healing human technology. I'm going to tell you now that there are secret hidden gatherings like the one that I mentioned at Finding Our Way Home, where people take these practices, ancient human practices, embodied human wisdom, and share them with one another so that we might survive the global onslaught against our humanity. I want to tell you that right now there are people, gatherings, groups of folks who are listening, sharing healing practices, tricks of the trade, ancient knowledge to help keep you alive. If we stay alive, then we have done our duty. If we love ourselves and literally anybody else, then nothing about our lives have been in vain. I want to finish this message in a way that's a bit unusual for Unitarian Universalist congregations. I want to talk a little bit about the Bible. So, stay with me. Stay with me. I promise I'm almost done and I won't keep talking. But 2,000 years ago, the world changed. It didn't happen all at once. But a little bit by a little bit, the whole world changed. And no matter whether you believe the things written in the Bible or whether or not you believe in the Christian message, you have to acknowledge that historically everything changed. The ancient wisdom we inherit was boiled in this time. We have been reading through the Gospel of Mark here at the Community Church, and the Gospel of Mark is short, fast-paced, and sometimes spooky. The sky is ripped apart. Miracles are foreboding and ominous. Jesus inspires more fear in the Gospel of Mark than faith. And in Mark's original ending, there is no resurrection. The story ends, and everyone is afraid. In the book of Acts, it tells us that this person, Mark, the evangelist, hosted the disciples of Jesus, including Peter, and that they gathered at Mark's mother's house. Peter was there. The story goes that Mark followed Peter, learned the story of Jesus' life, learned it from Peter's mouth, wrote the gospel we know of as the Gospel of Mark, and brought the Christian message south to Ethiopia and to Syria. Never mind the fact that this is just another reason why we can't think of Christianity as a colonizer's religion, but as in fact an African religion rooted in Syria and Ethiopia as well. I think we can also learn a lot about the ancient wisdom of the life of this one person, the evangelist Mark. See, tradition history holds that Mark was about 14 years old. Now, this person Mark was about 14, and he was staying in his mother's house. And his mother was a widow. That would have meant Mark's father died, right? So Mark, who brings all of these disciples back to his mother's house, who was likely pretty wealthy, she kept her estate after the passing of her husband as well. This child gets connected to Jesus. This child gets connected to Peter and the other disciples. This child, this 14-year-old kid, follows some strange men around until one of them, Jesus, gets murdered by the state. This seems like a bad story. It seems like a story that's going to end in failure, and indeed, that's where Mark's story that he writes ends. It sure sounds like Jesus' work is in vain. It sure sounds like the story ends in despair and sadness. And if you've ever read the Gospel of Mark, here's my plug to read it, it actually does end this way. Now, it sounds to me like Mark knew a little bit about the darkness of demons. It sounds to me like Mark knew a little bit about depression. It sounds to me like Mark knew a little bit about the heaviness of despair. It sounds to me like Mark knew a little bit about the longing of loneliness, about feelings of uselessness, about feelings of worthlessness. But remember, what actually happens is that Mark goes back to his mother's house. This, having met Jesus and training with the disciples, sends Mark on an epic adventure. He follows Peter and becomes the source of the church in East Africa. And his gospel didn't even include a resurrection. This life-giving, soul-changing message of Mark's gospel is not just that a dead man came back to life. It is that these people gathering in secret, conspiring to bring us back to life, this is how we survive imperial domination. That for those who lived and mourned together, even Jesus' life was not in vain. Their work was not in vain. They sat together and they mourned together. They remembered the story. They told the story to one another, and in so doing, they survived. They healed themselves. Amen? The evangelist Mark teaches me that the story doesn't end in the sad parts. Ancient wisdom and knowledge teaches us, blessed are they who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Ancient healing teaches me not to be afraid to leave home, because I will find those sent by God to serve. Ancient knowledge teaches me not to be afraid in the dark moments of night, because joy comes in the morning. Mark tells us that even in the worst of times, there are secret gatherings of ancient practitioners who put love at the center of all things and who conspire behind the scenes to survive us, to work for our connection, for our survival, for our healing. Ancient knowledge teaches me to wade in the water because God's going to trouble the water. Ancient knowledge teaches me to hush. Hush! Somebody's calling your name too. Ancient knowledge teaches me that I am not in charge. I'm not guiding the community or myself any more than the train conductor guides the train, because the track has been laid. The path is set before us by generations of those who came before us. Feel free to say amen if you agree with what I'm saying. The path is laid before us, and even if our history gets erased, which is what they're trying to do, we hold that meaning and importance in our bodies. We hold the capacity to keep ourselves alive in our bodies. We do not have to hold everything. We do not have to hold it all ourselves. We do, however, need to hold ourselves and each other. You see, my feet are guided by generations of life givers, love makers who have come before me and who loved me into existence. Amen? You all are here because generations of life givers and love makers brought you to existence, and all you have to do is be here. Amen? We hold each other because that is what we are called to do. To this moment, the practice of singing together in community guides us away from the past and the future and into the now, right now. Because right now we are loved and we are not alone. We hold each other's hands in community because that is how we show that we are not alone. We are not separated. It is true. Some people do know our trouble. Friends, ancient wisdom tells us that trouble, it doesn't last always. Ancient wisdom tells us that this joy that we have, the world didn't give it to us. Ancient wisdom tells us that this joy that we have, the world also cannot take it. Exactly. I gather in community today with all of you, not because I need to be reminded of love and miracles, but because I need you. I need you to be here with me. I need your help now in this moment because the world is changing. It is crumbling underneath my feet. And if you feel the same way, raise your hand and let us all know. The world is crumbling between our feet. Look at how many people need you. Look at how many people need you to be here right now with them. Thank you. You know, you all guide my feet while I run, just as I guide yours. You see, you hold my hand while I run, so that I know that I'm not alone. Amen? You stand by me and tell me that I am worthy while I run, and I know because of that I don't run this race in vain. I know that you need me too. I need you, friends, and I know that you need me too.